We're back on Nittany Game Week. Beaver Stadium is undergoing a $700 million renovation over the next few years. They already have a new revolutionary addition, and it fits into a small area of the building. This week's Impact interview is with Penn State graduates Rich Francis and Elisa Krakowski, who have sponsored a sensory room for families and individuals at the venue. Elisa, I want to talk about the sensory room. We're here at Beaver Stadium, and maybe just kind of talk conceptually about, some of the things in your life, in your family's life, that you said, this sounds like an idea that we might be able to pursue, how it kind of came about conceptually to want to have a sensory room here at Beaver Stadium.
Sure, so we should probably start back when my son was diagnosed 6 years ago. Lex is the inspiration for the Excel Foundation. It's his name spelled backwards. It also means to exceed one's expectations, to excel. So when he was diagnosed, I immediately started looking for resources. And Culture City was one of the organizations that I came across. And I found them to be very exciting because of the inclusivity that they brought to venues. So fast forward 3 years, when we founded the foundation, we had two missions, and one was for inclusion and one was for research.
The research was the easy part because it was well defined. So there's doctors that dedicate their whole practice, their whole life to autism research. So all we had to do there was interview doctors and see which ones aligned with our priorities. So that was easy. So we granted $1 million to a group of 5 doctors, and that part was well defined. The inclusion part was the harder part because it's so broad in nature and the spectrum is so broad. So that's where Elisa's research led us to the sensory rooms.
So I went back to Culture City and asked how we could be a part of their inclusion movement. And they said, why don't you try the sensory trailer? So the sensory trailer is ultimately like the sensory room here at Penn State, but it's on wheels. So it's able to travel to different venues all over the United States, and we really liked that idea.
Culture City has sensory rooms in 1,500 venues all over the world. So to make an impact, it just seemed hard to pick one. So they suggested the sensory trailer, and its very first stop was the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And so, of course, Elisa and I are both Penn State alumni and both big football fans, and we thought, wow, if we could see if Penn State has one, go back there and see if they have one. If they don't, we could offer to put one in. And so she reached out to Pat Kraft, who liked the idea, and we started.
Nothing like starting out small, the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. Let's start out with the Super Bowl. But, as you see the impact in the sensory community, the trailer, I love the idea because it's so mobile and you can get it to different spots. What kind of personal experiences have you had with that sensory part of it?
So I went out for the Super Bowl, my family and I, and we volunteered for the trailer, and what we experienced was unlike anything. So personally, as a mom with a child with autism, I knew that it would be beneficial, but to see it live and to see thousands that week and the week after leading up to the Super Bowl was just incredible. And they also gave away, nearly 5,000 sensory bags at the Super Bowl, so it was just really impactful. And we knew right then that the sensory rooms were needed, and we needed to continue to put them everywhere.
I want to ask you, because I'm a dad, and a daughter, a son. And when you see your kids go through something, right, and you immediately you're like, well, you probably wondered why. No. And then when you get your why, you know what I mean, and you can really go for it. What's that do for you, Rich?
Well, when my beautiful grandson was diagnosed, we just knew we had to help. And if it affects one in our family, it affects everyone in the family. So we challenged Elisa to start a foundation. My wife and I provided the seed capital for that. And then I thought, we have such great employees and we move hundreds of thousands of loads a year. So in 2020, we started this in 2021, so the last statistics we had were 2020. And 1 in 54 children were diagnosed with autism, and the number was too high. So we had to do something, and we had all our salespeople at a reward dinner out in Vegas, and while I had them captive, I asked if they wanted to make a difference. And I said, if you'll donate 54 cents per shipment out of your commission, my wife and I and R&R Express will match it. And everyone in the room, there were 140 people in the room, and we called it the Let's Go Club. And they all said they wanted to do it. So that's how it started.
That's awesome. Look, we're just the conduit, so I know, we're part of this process, that you guys are starting to make that impact and get the word out about that. What is the message that you want to get people to receive, not just maybe about the autistic community, but the sensory room in general? What has been effective? What's kind of resonating with people out there?
Sure. So while autism is extremely important to our family, 1 in 4 actually suffer from invisible disability. Things such as PTSD, Alzheimer's, the list goes on, dementia. So for us to be able to provide not only for autism a safe space, but for, a lot of individuals, I would say the message is that we're here, it's safe, you can come join, it's inclusive, we want to be there, we're going to be able to provide safe spaces, and ultimately we just want everyone to be included in our mission.
Right. Everyone wants for their child a normal life. So you think of the challenges with autism or PTSD. It's travel, it's going to restaurants, and it's going to venues like this. And so if this keeps someone here longer or encourages them to come, then it's that much more making their life like every other child's.
How is it set up? I mean, look, we can hear what's going on, but it's obviously not nearly as loud as what's out there with the regular public. So a sensory room at a stadium that holds 100,000 people, what are we trying to accomplish in this particular room, the way it's set up right now?
Sure. So what we're trying to do is desensitize the senses. So the hearing, the smells, the sight, the sounds, the touch of people bumping into you. Penn State being the amazing stadium that it is, it's loud, there's lots of people are excited. So at times of overwhelming to come in here and to be able to see a room that's a little bit quiet, the coloring of the room is softer, there's the bean bags on the floor where you can kind of sit down and relax. We also have the headphones, the noise canceling headphones that you can take with you once you have reset your senses and go back into the game.
It says Francis Family Sensory Room at Beaver Stadium, Penn State alum, proud Penn State alum. Well, you see that. What goes through your mind?
Humbled by it. I would rather be named the XL Foundation, but they surprised me, and it was incredible. Penn State's done so much for our family. We have now my granddaughter's here, so third generation. Gave me an education and friends, and launched my career. So to be able to give just a little bit back meant everything.